What's up, everyone? MiniMax just came out with an open source AI language model called M1 that can handle 1 million tokens for input context and 80K output. I'm going to test it. M1 boasts a massive 1 million token context window for input and 80K output. It was trained on 512 H800 GPUs for 3 weeks. The cost of that was about $500,000, which compares to the $5.6 million cost for DeepSeek V3. Very efficient for this one. Free access to this is available on chat.minimax.io, but you can also, of course, download the model from Hugging Face and run it. If you're going to use their web interface, it requires a login through a Google account, and it also has web search and deep thinking. Here are the benchmarks if you're interested. It just outperforms DeepSeek R1 and V3 and Llama 4 Maverick. The first test is I found just 2 random books on Project Gutenberg. One is called The Peasants, the other is called From Vermont to Damascus. I estimated that each of these is somewhere in the ballpark of about 100,000 tokens. So what I'm going to tell it to do is combine these two together and then come up with its own story based on the two squished together. The prompt is, combine these 2 books into one story and write an entire book. Do not write a short story with each chapter only being a paragraph or 2. Write as long of a novel as you can with long chapters. Do not take shortcuts. Be thorough. The point is to just come up with a story. Your mission is to write the entire novel at length that someone can immerse themselves into. The length of the novel you are going to spend quality time writing should be in the vicinity of 80K context tokens, since the creators of this model claim that's the maximum output size. I'm doing this test without web search and without think enabled, so I want to see what happens when it's just kind of in its most basic mode. Now, it seems like the title it picked was From Vermont to Damascus again. So it looks like the first chapter is 3 paragraphs. I told it to do more than 2, so I guess that counts. I was hoping for a really long context, so I decided to paste this into the ChatGPT tokenizer to get a general idea. It was around 2,000 tokens. I'm guessing this website is capped at 2K output tokens. Now I'm going to try the exact same prompt, but on the thinking mode. I gave it the same prompt, but this time in thinking mode on, and all it really gave me was outlines of the chapter, and it did not write the novel like I instructed it to. This time I corrected it and told it to write the entire novel, not just the outline. So what it did was this. It made chapters, but they were still pretty weak and short again. I think these chapters were even shorter than the other one without thinking mode on. Next thing is to go over the tokenizer for OpenAI. I understand that different AIs have different tokenizers, and the amount of token count is not going to be exactly the same. We're just trying to get a general idea here. So if I paste that whole thing in, we're at 4,000 tokens. Now I have a feeling that this web interface here is probably capped on output tokens for both thinking and non-thinking modes. Just speculation. Right now, I just don't have the time and wherewithal to set this up in the cloud, even though it would be cool to do that to do this test, but I still wanted to take a peek at their Hugging Face. I found on their MiniMax-M1 collection, they have an 80K and a 40K. So when I clicked over to the 80K, I was confused because I thought it was supposed to have a 1 million token context window. So I did a search for the text 1 mil, and it says model natively supports context length of 1 million, and then has the 80K output. So I think the 80K in this name is the output. The next test is I estimated that the book Tale of Two Cities might actually be around 1 million tokens. So let's see if it can do a summary and its own take as a book report and be as lengthy as possible with think mode chain of thought on. I'd say this is much better. After its chain of thought, where it went through all this, its usual thinking steps, it did a summary, and it took in this long book, and it actually wrote out a decent summary and its own report. That's pretty cool. So it did better at that than it did creative writing. Now let's switch over to one of the usual prompts that I would typically do with thinking mode on. What is the average distance from the Earth to the Sun, and how long would it take a vessel to reach the Sun from Earth traveling at a speed of 13,000 miles per hour? I get a kick out of how sometimes the chain of thought on these models is so incredibly long, even for something that's just a pretty straightforward mathematical equation. But it got it right. It's 298 days. It's almost a year is how long it takes. Do one more test with one of my usual prompts, then I'll wrap up and give you the summary. I have a straw and a beer bottle with a marble in it. The beer bottle is glued to the floor. How can I get the marble out without breaking the bottle? We know that the answer is suction, but these AIs love to say blowing instead of saying create a vacuum and pull the marble out. Same thing they all do. Got it wrong again. Create pressure and blow. That's not right. Even in its massively lengthy chain of thought, it said, maybe using the straw to create a vacuum. It does this all the time. The chain of thought models will put that in its thought process, then decide, nah, let's move on to a different idea, and then it just ends up landing on the same incorrect answer. I'm impressed by its ability to handle the long input tokens. That story Tale of Two Cities is really long. It understood it. It gave the report and the output. I think on the short output, that was only 2 to 4K. That's probably just because of the limitations in that web interface. Maybe if someone runs this on their own system or in the cloud, they can get the 80K output. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you want to get some content that I make that's faster and more often than this, please follow me on X at Vectro. If you got some value out of this video, please click the like button or even share it with people you might think are interested. It just helps this video and it helps the channel get around. If you're new to my channel, this is what I do on a regular basis. I test open source AIs. I give step-by-step tutorials on how to run open source AI on your own computer or in the cloud. If that interests you, please click the subscribe button. I hope to see you in the next video. Take care of yourself and have a good one.